Yeah, diagonal forward. And so what I was talking about is my comb. I've got the YS Park comb has got that half tooth, so I can get really precision clean sections. I can flick it over and then get more tension when I'm bringing it back. Okay, so we'll keep working on that, and we're bringing this back through here. Now I work on one whole side, and then I'll come and work on the other. And this is, if my client had a natural curl, this is really how I would still cut this technique. I wouldn't alter my techniques of how I cut them. What I might alter is my tension. I might have more tension or less tension, but depending on how expanded I wanted my end result to be. Okay, so you can see that guide through there. If I can't see my guide, and I'm finding myself having to check to see if it's there, potentially my section is on the wider side. Yeah, so I'd prefer to just be able to really easily see it through. Now these sections go all the way through to the front, which is why I see a lot of the time people do sort of like a hot cross bun section for their graduation, and what that means is that you end up cutting the back and the front's disconnected. So I would prefer, I want my sections to flow through and connect all the way through to the front. Do you think we got everyone back, Bradley?
Yep.
Oh, good. Cool. So we'll just keep going. So you can see the projection of hair. I want to have that the same. Through there. Now this section, grab that and I drop a finger so I can connect it, and that goes all the way through to the front. I don't sort of overly use clips a lot. If the hair will stay there by itself, for me that's kind of like dream scenario. And if I've prepped the hair with a leave-in treatment and it's evenly damp, then I find that it will sort of obey and stay in the right spot. Okay, bring this back. The same elevation, I'm cutting it over the ear. Now I don't have a guide in this bit of hair because we've moved up and over and down. So my guide is actually just the shape itself. So I'm just continuing that line down, okay? So that's why it's really important that you work like high, medium, low through that section. Okay, take out our next section. You can give it a twist as well. That can help you kind of stay in that same spot. This is definitely a haircut that for me has been like a foundation haircut for so many creative looks. So many things that I've done competition wise. I've utilized this particular technique, this graduated technique, because of the ability to kind of build a shape in a particular spot. Okay, so just keep that head in the same position, which actually is a reality with clients. You know, some clients kind of pop their head back and they think they're helping you, but really they're like changing the shape. So sometimes using your mirror can really help you with things like that. Okay, so I don't drop that. I then continue this down. So it's a really fluid there. Don't drop it and continue working that down. I think there we go, diagonal forward. So did Maz do another demo today, Alex? Do we have a color demo in our lockdown learning rooms today? I wonder. Okay, keep it nice and clean. And you can see you can quite quickly, if you are working cleanly, move through that section. I would rather take finer sections, more of them, and I find I have the confidence to move through the hair in a faster rate because I can see that guide as I'm working. Rather than taking bigger sections and kind of being like, oh God, is this right? You know what I mean? Okay. So there's that first side completed. Before I move on to the other side, what I really want to do is comb it into shape. Okay, so what I mean by that is comb it all forward, and then I'm going to comb it back so that it can start drying and forming in its shape. This for me is like a key aspect when I'm creating these graduated shapes because I want it to dry itself. You know, we want to work like wash and wear. So for me, by just combing that and into its shape, so comb it forward, back, and then around, it's already doing all these good things. Okay, so let's move through into the opposite side. So tilt that client's head over, and then we'll repeat the same process. So it's a diagonal forward section. Keep the same angle. I'm just going to pop a clip in that first one, and then we'll bring this back. So I would do sort of 2 sections, and then what I will do is check my balance. Because this side body position is key where you're standing. If you're standing too far back, you will build up too much weight. If you're crouching over, you might it might be too heavy. If you're standing too far in front, you might be elevating. So I would do a couple of sections and then sign off. Oh, yep, I am doing the right shape. It's got balance and all that sort of stuff. That over there. Bring that back. So remember flicking the comb around. Remember that high, medium, and then low coming down here. Okay, so I've done a couple of sections. What I'm going to do is check my balance. So grabbing the same pieces of hair, bringing it out to the same elevation, and just having a feel in a few different spots that you have got that right elevation. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's just a little heavy right in here. So that's my arm dropping just in there. So I'll just pick that up a little bit. Yep. And I'm just going to mentally stay on top of that, okay, as I move through this difficult side. Okay. Remember, the hair should just stay there. If it has dried off, you know, grab your water spray and spritz it back down. Okay, pick up some from the other side to check that that crown is at the same length. It was a little bit shorter through this side last time, so we don't have too much to cut from there, but I'll just do one more section, and then I can check this balance at the front as well. So colouring a graduation, I would sort of, for me, I'd always kind of tend to go towards more globally glossy, shiny tones on a grad. I think it, because you've got that weight line, you've got this really beautiful chance for colour and for light to bounce off that bevel. And what I would like, I think graduation as well is one of those haircuts where you have to have a good communication between the cutter and the colorist, okay? Because if your client came in and you did the color first and you did this beautiful full head of foils, yeah, you know where I'm going with this, and then it doesn't get discussed, and then the client with wet hair gets handed over to the cutter, and the client's like shows a picture, they want like a graduated beautiful bob. So then the cutter just starts cutting it because that's what they're told and that's what they think they're meant to be doing. And then all of a sudden, all of these spots start developing because they actually had highlights all the way through, like a full head of foils. And is just tragic. Like if that ever did happen, I would just be really honest and I'd go get the colorist, and then you can like hopefully kind of tone over that area. But I'd always let the client know. I mean, they know, like they can hear us going at the basin. But I would, yeah, it's that communication between the stylist and the technician. Some people, do everything themselves, and I guess you wouldn't get yourself in that pickle, but we sort of, we have all-rounders at Biba, and we also have people that specialize in one particular area. We don't have the one way that you have to do things. So every salon has a like different types. So just stylists, just technicians, and all-rounders, or just barbers as well. Connecting that right down, keeping that nice fluid line all the way to the front. So remember that projection of hair that we had on the other side? Make sure you've got that same projection of hair through both sides. Dropping it down. And I think this next one, I can grab everything. And let's connect this in. And then we'll again check our balance. And we can start drying this off. So I feel like graduation's had a bit of a bad rap with this pandemic. People think it's like a bit of a Karen haircut, which is kind of like super upsetting for me for more than one reason. I mean, the first reason is like my mum's name is Karen, so that's kind of a bit upsetting that she's pigeonholed with this angry person. But also, I love graduation, and I don't want like this particular haircut to be, forgotten, because as I said, it's the foundation and the building blocks for so many different shapes and so many different forms. So we do need to continue to practice it, and really nail this like particular technique, because it's super important to move forward in your career and create lots of different shapes. It's the same thing with like a traditional foiling. I think sometimes with all the balayage that's going around, people forget how to actually do those traditional beautiful foils, close to the root, no bleeding, beautiful packets and foils, slices, weaves. That kind of gets forgotten when there's all this like freehand sort of stuff. So, you know what I mean? Like always go back to those classics and you can keep working on them. I'm happy with this. I'm happy with my balance. Okay. So let's comb this side into shape. So the same, comb it forward and then comb it back. Okay. You should see your shape. If you can't see your graduation, maybe like go back and give it another crack, because you should be able to see that buildup of weight. Okay. And as I said, graduation is an internal shape. So we haven't done the perimeter yet. I haven't done any of this hairline or anything through here yet. So we'll talk about that later. We also haven't done these lengths at the front. So make sure you point that out to the client as well, because they might be like, oh, Lyndall, I wanted it a little bit shorter in the front. Yeah, that's fine. Not a problem. When it's all dry, we can do that together. Yeah. Narrate your way through the process a little bit with the client, and it stops them from kind of being really awkward and not being comfortable to say things to you. That's really helped me when I was sort of unsure of my cutting ability. I would sort of talk through what I was doing with the client, and it kind of relaxed me a little bit, and I think it relaxed the clients. Okay, I'm prepping the hair with a leave-in treatment. Okay, I'm just using my hand. So this is like a porosity equalizer. This is not really a styling product, but it's a great prep product to put in the hair. And like I said, I actually used this product to prep the hair before I was cutting it. I love to cut with this product as well because it helps my sections stay in their shape. So that's a leave-in treatment. And then what I will go through and put in is a little bit of argan oil. So this is our argan oil hair glosser. So, and I just use a little bit just through the hand there, which sounds pretty like bogus to put oil into the hair, but you know, the last 10 years hair products have come a long way, and we've realized that, you know, that's where a lot of that shine is, but it's all about placement. I'm not going to get oil and go like this on the root. That doesn't really make any sense. Okay, so it's about understanding the placement of your products. Where do you need that oil? Where do you want that shine? And I know where I want that shine. I know where I really want the shine is on the bevel, on the longest part of this whole haircut. So I really want to make sure that I'm putting that oil through that graduated area, because that's where the hair is going to sit around. Yeah. So just using your hands to apply that. There's so many different ways you can apply products, and I'm literally always changing the way that I do it just to kind of stay motivated myself. So, but whether I'm using a brush or my hands or a comb, the point is it must be evenly dispersed. Okay, you want to get that through. Okay. Sometimes I think if you can make it a nice experience for the client, I mean, Anita really enjoyed that. If you make it a nice experience, the client is more inclined as well to be like, oh, what was that product you're using? You know what I mean? Okay, so I'm happy with that. That's through. Now we'll grab our tools to dry off. Before I go and use my brush, I just want to make sure that I've got enough moisture out of the hair, because if you pick up that brush too soon, you're just wasting time. Yeah? What are you laughing at, Riley? So I'm just using my hands, and I'm using my hands like a brush to make space so I can just dry off mainly that root area. And so I'm using my fingers to shake it out, and the rest of my hand just to move it around. So Anita is definitely due for a color. She's gonna go straight in an Uber to Maryland. This is very similar to what Marilyn did for Trend Vision. We last year was a crazy year for us as well, and we entered Trend Vision on mannequins. And Marilyn did a really cool root stretch, like just through here, which is really works in line with what I was saying. No color through this underneath, but she kind of did this bleach root stretch through the top, which was amazing. And she was a finalist with a mannequin. Okay. So keeping your arm up so the air is always going down the cuticle. No matter what I'm doing, the air must go down the cuticle for shine. Yeah. And even if my end result, I do want it to be like chaotic and really choppy and fill it with hairspray and wax, which, you know, I don't really do that often, but maybe I might want that. And maybe my client wants that. I would still dry it down the cuticle, and then I would use product to create that. So I would still start in like an organized way. Okay, my next tool that I'm going to pick up is, that's right, I'm changing from my baby paddle and I'm moving to my little Denman. Okay, so I'm going to use this Denman, and the reason I can wrap dry with this little Denman is because you can see it's got the little balls on the end. Yeah. If your Denman doesn't have the little balls on the end, I would be careful wrap drying with it, because what I'm doing when I'm wrap drying is I'm moving the brush over the scalp. I'm transferring all the oils from the root and I'm wrapping it around the hair. So I'm getting maximum glossy shine, but this is hitting the scalp. So if you don't have the little balls and, you know, potentially you've got a client that's got hair on the finer side, which is a reality with graduation, because what are you doing when you're graduating? You're building weight. So maybe your client had fine hair. It bloody hurts if you don't have the little balls, yeah, because you're kind of like scraping over their scalp and you'll see them wincing. Swapping hands, a great thing to practice, especially when you're at the start of learning, because it's a little bit hard to sort of change your behavior once you've picked up some particular ways to do things. So I would recommend from the start of your careers to practice swapping hands to help with symmetry and balance. So I need to dry my roots and mids first before I come and do anything at all with the rest of it. Dry it forward. I also dry it back. But still focusing on that root area. Until the roots are dry, there is absolutely no reason whatsoever that I would need to be thinking about the mid-length to ends. Like we say, when I'm wrap drying, I'm building a house, right? So you got to lay the foundations down, you got to put your slab down, and then you can start building the walls. I think. I've never built a house. Whatever. I got a good imagination. Swap hands on this side. Now, if my client had a side part, I would still be doing this. I would be drying it with no part. When you're wrap drying, you're really being really able to see the shape that you have created in its truest form, rather than sort of stretching that cuticle somewhere where it doesn't naturally want to go. Move that around for you. You can see that buildup of weight. And yeah, you can see where I need to see this hairline's a bit longer there. I'll have to bring that one up. And once I've got all of those roots, don't forget the front as well. Once I've got all of those roots dry, I can start working through on my mid-length to ends. So I love this brush. Last week we had a conversation about using different brushes for different results. And the reason I'm using this brush today, I'll show you in a minute, is because I'm able to get a little bit more bevel on the ends, because the cushion of the brush is higher than that of my baby paddle brush. So I thought I would use this today to sort of show you how you can get a little bit more. Look at that shape. We're just wrapping around and around. And we try, when the students are learning, we try and get them to use this wrap drying technique so they can really see the shapes that they're creating, or the shapes that they haven't created. I mean, you learn just as much, if not more, from stuffing a hair cutter on a mannequin. You know what I mean? And if you dried it properly and you're able to see then where it is that you went wrong, like where it is that you maybe elevated and lost your point of graduation, but you won't see those things if you aren't drying it in its natural manner. Okay, I'm happy with the roots. So now we're going to come through on the mid-lengths to ends. So we'll spin this around. And what we will do is we'll take a diagonal back, and this is where we start using these little fingers, and we come in and we run through the ends of the hair. And I'm going to dry it forward and I'm going to dry it back. I'm going to do both ways, okay? So it's just really natural. I'm lifting it off the root. You're able to get still a nice little bit of volume with this brush. And I'm just moving the air along the brush so I can get all the hair on the cushion. Are the AirPods working? Can you guys hear my dryers, or am I still able to be heard? Because I can turn the speed up on this. I just didn't know whether. You never know. Okay, and so the same here. If you want to dry that back with the bevel, it's a diagonal forward, pick that up, coming through and drying back. So you can dry that in two ways. And I use the whole brush like that. Try where possible when you're blow drying to really use your hand rather than your whole wrist. So rather than keeping this really rigid, coming in and twisting your wrist. And so then when you get to the bottom, you're holding your wrist at an awkward angle and you're trying to apply tension. For me, try and use your fingers a lot more, yeah? So I'm coming in and I'm rotating the brush with my fingers like that. Okay, so, and rather than coming right around. It's good practice as well for when you are creating like twisty blow dries with that round brush and you need to be able to manipulate your hands and your fingers. So this is wrap drying, yeah? This is what we mean when we say, hey, can you wrap dry this client on the floor? This is what we mean. It's not like just a rough, don't really care what it looks like finish. It's in fact for me like the only way to dry hair, especially that's shoulder length and above, because otherwise it can look like super old lady dated if you start round brushing graduation too much. Swap hands so you can dry it both forward and back. And I might just Bradley get you to turn those irons on. My like fantastic assistant. And I'll just see if we need to gloss anything. You never really know with mannequins where that natural parting wants to go, so we'll have to decide that after this as well, and then we can create that perimeter based on where that wants to sit. So this week for the lives as well, we thought we would definitely go back to more classic techniques because, you know, we've done lots of creative, but we thought we would just do some more classic. So if you want to join in again, we'll be back here on Thursday at 3:30, and I'm going to do a one length. Yeah, so just really going in with those fundamental techniques so we can go over, you know, key things that can go wrong, you know, and sort of talk about all of those in a safe space. So when you get back to doing clients, you kind of got a little bit more knowledge in your tool belt. Drying that crown back. I actually don't know any precision cutters that don't love cutting graduation. I hope there's none in this room watching. Because I think it is one of those haircuts that, like, you know, you can see the build-up of weight. Oh, Bridget, hello. Yes. Oh my God, is your mum watching as well? That's the best. I reckon I can talk your mum through cutting your hair, Bridget. Get her to give me a buzz. We can do that. Okay. We're nearly finished. So yeah, graduation is the build-up of weight. It's created between 1 degree and 89 degrees. Okay. Once I'm at 1 degree, what am I doing? I'm doing a one length. Okay. And once I've hit 90 degrees, I am layering the hair. So, I mean, the thing to remember is that we don't have protractors in our kit. So it's a visual 89%, but you need to have an understanding of that basic geometry to be able to create shapes. So if you are unsure about that sort of stuff, it's a good idea to sort of, you know, get yourself a little, like, I don't know, just start looking at shapes and sort of questioning yourself and being like, oh, I wonder what angle that is. And it will help you decide whether it's layered or whether it's graduated based on the shape of it. Okay. So there's our wrap dry, no nozzle. In terms of using a nozzle, I'm not a huge nozzle lover. I don't use them that often. I would prefer to use no nozzle because for me it sits a little bit more naturally, but everybody's different. So let's just gloss this with the ends with the irons, and then we can come and work on our perimeter. In terms of the finishing this, I might actually iron everything forward and do it a little bit straighter through the front, just so it doesn't look dated. Okay, sometimes that too much volume in that bevel through the back is like upsets me. So I'm just going to take out a little bit of that and bring this forward, which I might live to regret, but let's find out. That's why we're all here. If I do it and it doesn't work, then you don't need to do it. Yeah, Bridget, who's watching as well, has done a lot of competition work as well. And it is like it's a haircut, isn't it, Bridget, that you use a lot in our competition work because you can create such strong, unique shapes using graduation once you've got a really good, solid understanding of it. Oops, gave myself a knot. So I'm using really wide teeth when I'm ironing. And, you know, again, I haven't done the perimeter yet, so don't let the client derail the service right now by saying, Lyndall, it's too long at the front. You know, I'll be like, it's all cool, we'll get there. Just relax. Pick this up. I don't put the irons on the comb. You should really not be having melted tools because there shouldn't be a connection between your comb and your iron. Okay, it's kind of separated. I separate it by my finger. Yeah, so that's how I help to keep that distance. But when I see melted tools, I'm like, ooh, it's a bit sad. And melted brushes as well. You shouldn't really be jamming enough heat on a brush to melt it, because that means you're jamming that much heat onto hair. Yeah, and hair is so fragile. Just because together there's lots of hair and it feels stronger, it's not. Like, you think about an individual hair strand and how fragile that is. You don't want to go and jam too much heat on it. Okay, we'll move through this side. And I'm using these wide, like a bigger wire spark clip today. Down, around. Down onto the face. We've already got this hairline in the back from a previous haircut, so it'll be interesting to see how we work with this and whether we're able to create much with it. But I mean, in terms of trying to be sustainable and using mannequins again, I wasn't going to let that stop me from using this mannequin again, because you want to try and get as much life out of your mannequins as possible. Okay, bringing that forward. Yeah, I think that this side part is where the client's hair has naturally fallen. And even though, you know, I'm working on a mannequin, the mannequins still have like these weird natural elements to them, like things that make them different than other mannequins. So it's still you're able to sort of assess movement and shape and crowns and all of that sort of stuff on a mannequin. Especially when you've been in lockdown for as long as us. Like, we're like, it's like The Shining, you know, I'm just talking to the mannequin, like at the bar. Okay, straighten that back up. Coming through this crown area, and I'm just glossing. Yeah, I'm not flattening the life out of this. I've just spent the last 45 minutes like building a shape. Why would I want to iron the hell out of it? So think about your irons as more of a glossing service, a glossing tool, just to create a little bit more polish and finish through it. Okay. Just under here. There's probably lots of people in their salons calling clients right now, trying to book them in. It's going to start getting crazy all of a sudden. So if you are a student and you haven't done any work online yet, it's never too late. Do you know what I mean? So try and get some things marked off. On Thursday, Paul's going to work through, I think, task 2 or task 3. So if that's still something that you haven't completed, it's a great opportunity to do that, because he's literally in the room with you working through it. It's not often you're going to get your teachers kind of like one-on-one undivided attention. Okay. Go. All right, so we've polished the hair, we've wrap dried it, we applied some leave-in treatment, Then we applied a little bit of argan oil through the mid-lengths to ends to remember, and that was to assist on that shine line, on that bevel where the light hits the hair, which is like an iconic element of graduation, is to have that light sort of bouncing off it. So just going to pop this head right up so we can start talking about hairlines and work on that shape. First, comb it into shape, okay? And be honest with yourself. Don't comb it into some fake perfect, like, oh, look at that, that looks perfect. Do you know what I mean? Be honest and true, because otherwise the client's just going to do it when they get home, and then they're going to call you and you're just going to have to redo it. Okay. So what I'm looking at here is this hairline, okay? I'm looking at this connection here, this shape. I'm hoping that I'm able to bring that up and around, but I might not be able to because of the weave of the mannequin, but I can try. Yeah. Now, at this point, I would assess my internal shape before I do my perimeter. I'm happy with this internal shape, but if you did feel that it was a little bit dense or a little bit thick, what you could do is move through on top of your fingers, and you could just point cut a little bit through that shape just to remove any little weight lines or anything that you're not loving. Yeah, in through there, but I would still point cut on top of my fingers because it's safer. Okay, but let's start on this perimeter, because I can't look at this uneven perimeter for much longer. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is just balance out this back. So just starting through from this highest point here, and it makes sense to work through the shorter side first and then go and match it on the longer side. Yeah, I know I've got more hair over there, but this side here is going to be critical through here. So I'm going to start from this longest point using the points of my scissors. I'm going to try and make my way up here and knock off this corner a little bit and hopefully be able to meet that short point. Okay, so I'm just pointing slowly. This is not as terrifying when you're not doing a mannequin, because on a mannequin you either hit the hairline and then you kind of stuffed it, but on a client you can go into their hairline. Okay, so through here, using your points. Come up through here. I think we're going to be okay. We come and connect it in here. So I'm using the points so I can create more of a curved look through the shape. And I've just hit the corner here. So you can see through there, we've just scraped the corner of the weave of the mannequin. So I can't go any shorter there. But ideally, probably if this was a client, I'd just take that little bit shorter up in there. But it's okay, let's keep going. Now I haven't done the front yet, I haven't done the front length here. So bring that down and comb it into its truest shape. Do you know what I mean? Don't kid yourself. And then let's come through and connect this as well. Using those points to get that really nice curved arced shape on that classic grad. You can see that comes up and then it drops down. It's too pointy in through there. So if you're in the client's neck and you're terrified that you're going to cut it, you can just lift it out like that and make your way through, still using that pointing technique, but holding it in your comb and getting right down to that front length, okay? So you can see how finish is really important, like having that natural finish and having all those ends blow dried and beveled in the right way. Okay, there's just still, see there's a little bit of a dip in there. You really want to point cut and get that balance. Okay, how's that looking? If I had a mirror, like that would be killer right now. I'd be really using that mirror because you can see twice as much in the mirror than what you can when you're looking straight at something. So pointing. And bringing that forward there. And how's that looking, Bradley? Is that balanced? Okay. Got a thumbs up from the chef. So keep your client nice and clean so you can really see what you're doing. Yep. So I'm just going to stand back and have a look at that shape. And you know, I'm looking at the jaw. I'm looking at how that's sitting in relation to the buildup of weight through the back there. All of those things, yeah. I'd love to take that a little bit shorter in there, but that hairline of the mannequin won't let me, so I'm just going to have to get over it. What I will do in here is these ends, I want to actually just point into them and free them up a little bit, just to balance it out. It looks a little bit heavy. Yeah, and that's just going to soften, because in here where we've got that hairline where it should be a little bit higher, it looks a bit weaker. So you don't want to have, you want to like even out your perimeter and make sure it looks balanced. You don't want some bits to be like super graphic and then other bits to be slightly broken up. Okay, so it's just about sort of playing around with your pointing and your line work to create the most beautiful sort of harmonious shape. I mean, that doesn't have to mean that it's balanced, but it either looks right or it kind of looks like it didn't make sense. Cool, and I think that moves around a bit too. Yep. All right, let's move into this side. So I need to come back to the back. Okay, centralize myself. And then I will start working up and over into this opposite side. Being aware to not hit that corner of the mannequin too quickly. Definitely going to have to a little bit come up into here. Point that out so it's a bit softer and a bit more natural. Okay. So let's come around here. Now we're into this difficult corner bit here. So we've got that, the same thing on this side where we wish we could just take that little bit higher, but we can't. So we're going to get over it and we're going to come here and we're going to connect this and take off some of this length and create our shape through the front. Okay. Now, again, like the other side, if you feel like you're uncomfortable cutting on your client's neck, pop your comb in. You can use the teeth of your comb, or what you can do is hold the comb backwards and sort of hold it there like a bit of a ledge, but I've got a nice wide tooth comb, so I don't mind holding it in this wide tooth comb. And then I will point it and bring this length, following my comb down through the front, yeah, and extend this line down. Run over it a couple of times, use some elevation so it's not too heavy. If you had a client that had really fine textured hair, you could definitely do this like on skin. You know, you could comb it down, hold it down here, and then create that shape on the skin. But this mannequin's got like loads of hair, too much hair. Pointing forward. Now the client, you need to point out as well, because we've got this side part, this side's always going to fall a little bit longer when the hair is out, because we obviously have a side part. So it's important to point that out to your client. If it's the first time they've had short hair, they might not realize that. So never sort of assume. I would even just straight away point it out, so then they're not panicked that their hair is not even. Okay, and we're coming down. Nearly made it. Right down. And just pointing that straight line to refine this length. Okay. Now the same as the other side, we did some pointing into the line to soften it. We'll do the same thing on this side because I think it worked well. Okay. So just breaking that up, creating a little bit of movement through the line. And again, like that makes it a little bit more wearable, and it does maybe de-Karenify something a little bit. Okay. It just means our client's going to be able to move their hair a little bit. You can just point even in through here, point into this front to soften off that weight. So you've got a little bit more flexibility through the part. Oh, okay. All right. How are we going? I think we're nearly done. This hairline at the back, I'm just going to come across here and take this off. And yeah, I think we're kind of done. So this is our graduation, our classic grad. We had an existing hairline through there, so there's just a little bit here that I would love to bring that a little bit higher, but when you're working on a mannequin, you have to stay within the parameters of their hairline. So we've just left that through there, and we've got a side part. Let's pop this down, and then we'll blow dry the hair out, and we'll put some styling product through. Anyone got any last minute graduation questions? Any burning questions? You could, if you wanted to as well, just kind of, you know, just those ends, you know, just re-bevel them a little bit. So yeah, graduation, an amazing haircut. There's so many different ways you can do it as well, which is like makes it really, really exciting every time. And I think everyone does it a little bit differently as well. But what is not disputable is that it's below 90 degrees. Yeah, that's the angle that you're creating that graduated shape. Okay. So in terms of styling this, let's have a little look. comb it back into its shape. I think what we could do today is just maybe add just a little bit of movement out through that one side, and we'll keep that side nice and smooth so you can see the line. So I would maybe go through, I might just put a little bit of Faji in. So I'm going to go through with our hero product Faji, and I'm laughing because this is my favorite product, and if this is not your first live, then you definitely already know that. So I'm just going to pop it through my own hands, run it through, make sure it's evenly dispersed before I come and apply it to the client. Don't stick little clobs of bird poo through your client's hair, especially at this stage where you've like nearly finished. So it's all evenly glossed through your own hands before you transfer it onto the client. Okay. And when you're putting product into the client's hair, look at the client. I think it's a good tip to make contact in the mirror with your client at this stage, and you're sort of looking at them and you're styling the hair and you're looking at them in the mirror through there, because you can gauge a lot from their face right now. You know, they might be like that, in which case you're like, oh, you know, like I would never get to that point. I would have looked at their face while the service was happening, but I would never get to the point and be like, how's that feel? And they're like, I friggin' hate it. You know, like because you're talking through and you're getting that validation through it. But this is the point where you look at them in the mirror at the end and they're smiling and you feel good about it, and it's a good feeling. So look in the mirror and appreciate it and enjoy this moment. I don't have a mirror, so I'm just literally looking at Bradley and smiling. He's like, oh yeah. Okay, so just running that through, make sure it's evenly dispersed. Oh, new Faji. Wow. Yes, bring it on. You know, if anyone can give you a real critique on the Faji. Okay. Who said that one, Dolly? Amika. Oh, hello, Amika. Okay. So I think this is our graduated shape. I think we're done. If you did want to sort of sit any bits and set them in place, you could just with a little bit of spray. And with some clients that have that side part, you know, you might want to just spritz a little bit of spray in there just to open up that eye in through there. Yeah. And you can just put the points back on the ends of your line. Don't go too ham on the hairspray, says me. And yeah, just put that movement back into it so your client can appreciate the craftsmanship of the shape that you've just created. Yeah. And I think if you can do all of that and sort of enjoy it as well, like then that enjoyment definitely comes through in your work. If you really are, I'm just going to cut this bit here because it's going to irritate me. If you're really enjoying what you're doing, I think that passion comes through in the work, and the clients will pick up on your vibe. You know what that's saying? Like your vibe attracts your tribe. Do you know what I mean? So if this is the sort of work that you really want to develop, and you want to work and be more of a precision cutter and cut shorter haircuts, like this is where you want to like really be excited, and then that will get transferred into the client. Then this client will talk to their friends and be like, if you want a graduated, like go see Lyndall, she loves it, like it's, you know, and then momentum starts. Yeah, but it all starts from you being passionate and like showing it as well to the client. Don't be afraid to be like, yeah, this is awesome, and like really back yourself. Yeah. So yeah, that's our graduation demo for today. Quick recap, that first section that you take is the whole essence of the buildup of weight when you're over directing back. So you can see by looking at this, we took that first section was on this angle because the whole haircut is now falling through on this angle, and you can see that through there. Yeah. If our client wanted their length at the front to be horizontal, more of a box bob, then I would have taken a horizontal section through the back. So that first section really dictates the shape and how that sits for the client. Yep. We worked underneath in our bottom section first, over directing each section back to the previous. Make sure you're checking for balance on both sides, and then taking diagonal sections all the way through to the front. Make sure that that section travels all the way to the front. Don't box yourself off into a hot cross bun if you want a classic shape to move all the way through the head, because what happens if you do a hot cross bun is you've got graduation through the back, but it's never really going to connect fully with what you do in the front. You can never connect anything in life with a vertical section. And when you start coloring hair, that's when that penny really drops, because you do a color there and a color there, and they don't connect if you do a vertical section. But if you do a diagonal section, then there's a moment between those two colors where they connect. So cutting is exactly the same. You want that section to flow all the way through the front. Yep. And consistency, always try and keep your sections nice and clean. I was cutting with a leave-in treatment spray, and that really helps to sort of keep those sections into place. If I was using Weller, I would be using the IME Perfect Me. That's a really nice cutting lotion that you could be using, or SP Hydrate. That's another great product to be using whilst you're cutting hair. And yeah, that's it. Wrap drying, we used a Denman today, but it still had the little balls on the end, so I was able to wrap dry my client. So make sure your brush has those little balls on the end. And yeah, Thursday we'll be back here at 3:30, and we're going to be doing a one length. We're on the classics. It's classic week. So thanks for tuning in again. Big love to everyone at Bieber Academy, and everyone that is tuned in here to watch. You guys rule, because yeah, this is what it's about, just staying connected and trying to get through this difficult time. So yeah, if anyone has any questions about the haircut as well, reach out to me on socials, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye.